Hello and welcome to another This is the Music Meets podcast. For this episode, we are joined by Wolverhampton singer-songwriter Sam Lambeth, whose recent EP, Love and Exile, has amassed over 1,000 streams on Spotify alone. Sam, thanks very much for coming on, mate. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Mark. It's a real pleasure. Big fan of your podcasts and a big fan of your reviews as well. So cheers for having me on.
Oh, thank you very much, and it's great to finally actually meet you kind of face to face, I guess, rather than just all the emails and direct messages and stuff that we've had. When was it? Since about sort of late October, I think, when the first single came out. I think it was about right. I think.
Yeah. It's going on for a year now. It's crazy how fast it's gone.
Yes, definitely it has. So obviously, I just mentioned the figures there for Love and Exile. So how does it feel hearing them figures for the EP, especially obviously as you sort of decided that you'd kind of retired from sort of releasing any more sort of new music or anything?
Well, when I hear them figures, I think, Christ, I don't remember listening to it that much myself. My nan and my mom must have been listening as well. But now, honestly, it's hearing it in isolation like that. It does kind of just put into perspective how crazy it is, and I and how lucky I've been with it. Really, I'm really, really grateful to Spotify, really, because I've been very fortunate that the songs got selected for playlists. But more than that, I'm really, really thankful to people like yourself and people on social media for giving me a chance, really, because like you say, I probably spoke to you back in October when I hadn't released a thing. No one really knew who I was. Not that many people know who I am now, but everyone was so welcoming, and everyone gave me a chance and kind of welcomed me into the community, as it were. And I'm really thankful for everyone for not only giving it one listen, but for giving it repeated listens. I think that means a lot when I see people tweeting about it. Even now, people post, I'm listening to this record today again. And that really means a lot, just to know that people have listened and enjoyed it enough to continue listening and adding it to their playlist and stuff. So it's been fantastic. Honestly, I honestly didn't expect any of it. So I am truly blown away, and really, really humbled by it all.
Well, it's richly deserved, in my opinion. Obviously, I'm a massive fan of yours. So, what was the recording process like for Love and Exile? Because I'm guessing that you obviously recorded some of this during the middle of the pandemic, and so how was it? Because I know obviously you had a couple of I don't know if I call them friends or what, but obviously helped you out with some of the parts on the record.
Yeah. It was incredibly exciting and fun, and real fertile and creative period. I had such a clear vision of what I wanted, and not only that, I had time. I think beforehand, when I was in bands, sometimes you can get into that kind of, you're in your own bubble, and it's a bit of a pressure cooker environment where you're on a bit of, you kind of on a factory line where you're gigging, you're getting songs ready for the gigs, you gig, you record, you get another song on the line. And sometimes he can get like that, and he was getting a bit like that for me in certain bands I was in. So when I wasn't in a band and I wasn't making any music, all of a sudden I had all this free time to work on a batch of songs, and I didn't have to rush anything. I didn't have to think about the limitations of the songs, as in, if I wanted a piano or mandolin beforehand in the bands I was in, naturally we'd question whether we'd be able to recreate that live, But this time there was none of those concerns, so it was kind of a real liberating experience, and I had such a vast amount of time to work on the songs over lockdown, so that by the time I went into the studio, I kind of knew what most of the parts were going to do, if you know what I mean. Like, I was always open to suggestions, but I went in kind of thinking, well, I know what guitar riff I'm going to lay down here. I know what kind of harmonica bit I'm going to put here. I know what bass line I'm going to play. Because I was conscious of, I knew I didn't want to go over in terms of the recording, you know what I mean? I thought, I've got 6 days, that's all I'm budgeted for. I can't go over, so I need to make sure I don't waste any time when I'm in there. So I could say I went in with a real focus of what I wanted. I knew the kind of sound I wanted as a whole. You know, I knew I wanted a kind of cohesive sound. I knew what influences I had. I knew what kind of tones and effects I wanted. So that was good. But it was really exciting being in the studio because, again, all of a sudden, so many different ideas come up, and having a fresh pair of ears from Ryan, the producer, that was invaluable, really, because obviously I'd spent so much time with these songs on my own, and you do become a bit, you become a bit deaf to them, you know. It's hard to think of new ideas when you've spent so much time with them. But Ryan was able to say, "Oh, try this, try that. Don't try this, don't try that." I mean, I remember Dog Days Are Coming Again. Every guitar part I had, Ryan was like, "No, try something else. Now try something else. Now try something else." And in the end, I thought about sacking myself, to be honest. But it was great, and it needed that. I think it needed a fresh pair of ears. And Ryan's an amazing producer, and anyone local to the West Midlands, 100%, I'd recommend working with him. And yeah, like you touched upon, I had a couple of friends kind of involved. So Zoe, who is in kind of the band now, gigging, performing with me. She offered, well, I don't know if she offered, I think I kind of forced her into it, bless her, to play piano on it, because I'm not a good enough piano player really. I didn't feel confident enough to do it on the record. Yeah. And Zoe, to her credit, went away and come up with some really, really great piano melodies that I would never have come up with. So again, having her insight and her kind of a fresh pair of ears, that proved to be vital. And in terms of the other friend, really, well, her partner, Cal, he was someone I knew, and I knew he kind of took up bass recently, and I didn't own a bass, so I asked Cal if I could lend his bass. And actually, that's how Zoe got involved, because they go out. When I asked about lending the bass, I said to him, "You don't know anyone who plays piano, do you?" And he said, "Well, Zoe plays," and that was it then. And the good thing is Cal now plays in my band playing bass too, and yeah, they're both fantastic musicians, and yeah, been a pleasure to perform with them.
Oh, brilliant. That's fantastic. So I think you have kind of touched it on there, but sort of how do you go about writing the songs, like in terms of the subject matter and also as well kind of like the riffs and obviously the piano you just mentioned, but certainly like the guitar, like the chords and the structures and stuff like that?
Well, I never force it. I never sit down and think, "Oh, it's been a while since I've written a song," or I never sit down and think, "Right, today's a songwriting day." It's never really been the way I work. I usually try to let it happen naturally. Some people, I admire the people that can sit down and have that kind of work ethic where it's like, "Right, today I'm not leaving until I have a song." Yeah. But for me, I wait for it to strike, and it doesn't matter to me how long it takes, as long as it does happen, you know. Yeah. So for Love and Exile, there was a few songs that had been around for quite a while, and I hadn't been able to use them in the previous bands I was in, because as you've probably heard, they're quite ornate, they're quite acoustic-y, they're quite mellow. And when I was in rock bands, you know, we didn't really want to go down that route. You know, we wanted to play stuff that was quite energetic and punchy and would be good live. Yeah. So I had these songs stored, some of them. And I think I sat down and said, "Well, now I'm on my own as a solo artist. I'm not in any bands. It's time to finally put some of these to record before it's too late, really." So I took those ideas, those songs, and I tweaked them a little bit to kind of fit the style I wanted, because I knew I wanted to make a kind of acoustic-driven record, kind of Tom Petty kind of country rock record. And as I was kind of tweaking those songs, I worked on a few new tracks as well. Just naturally from rehearsing the other ones, I'd land upon a chord structure that would work, or a chorus would come into my head. And it went from there, really. And in terms of the lyric writing, I knew I wanted to touch upon a few unifying themes, so like time. I wanted to keep it fairly universal, so I wanted to touch upon fairly universal themes, so things like time, friendship, religion, love, death, I know it sounds a bit bleak when I say it like that, but kind of these big weighty kind of topics that I wanted to touch upon, and yeah, so it kind of went from there with that. I mean, one of the ways I sometimes write, believe it or not, and I'm not sure if any other songwriters do this, but I sometimes write titles down, and then I write a song from that title, and that sometimes helps me. So "How'd You Find Me," for example, that was a title I wrote down, and then
right, yeah.
And it was like, okay, right, I'm going to try and write a song called "How'd You Find Me" now, and that sometimes helps me. Actually, it helps kind of think of a chorus from that, so I sometimes do it like that. "When Love Ain't Enough" was another example where that was a title before it was ever a song. So yeah, that's kind of how I approach it. With the guitar, I mean, I kind of had an idea of where I wanted the electric guitar to be. I knew I didn't want the electric guitar to be as prominent as it was before, because I felt like I'd done that a lot, and I wanted to switch it up a bit, just for me, really. I wanted it to be more expansive and not relying just on layers of electric guitar. I mean, I love that, but for me, I wanted to take a bit of a detour from that. So for me, it was just thinking, okay, well, where's it going to be? Where the guitar solo is going to be? You know, where's the electric guitar going to be without it overruling the acoustic and the piano? And so Love and Exile, in a way, was an exercise in restraint, really, for me, because I could have put a lot more kind of guitar solos over it, really, but I held back a bit and thought, oh no, maybe hear a piano, or in case of "How'd You Find Me," or a harmonica, and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I think mentioned there with the themes of the songs as well. I think that each topic, excuse me, people like the listeners can actually relate to the theme and to what you're trying to get across. So I totally understand why you've sort of tried to concentrate on them particular areas. And well, I think, you don't need me to say it. I think the figures, obviously, that we've already mentioned, the proof is in the pudding, as they say.
Oh, thank you. Thanks very much. It wouldn't be anything, like I say, it wouldn't be anything without you and so many others listening, sharing, and reviewing. You know, so I'm eternally grateful to everybody, really, just for taking a chance on me. You know, because it's harder than you know. When I say it like that, it sounds like it's easy, but it's not. You know, people are busy and people don't have much time to chill, and when they do chill, they oftentimes want to listen to music that they've heard before and they know. So it means a lot that people stuck on a 7-track EP from some random guy in Wolverhampton. You know, really means a lot.
So, what's your personal favourite track from Love and Exile?
Oh, you know, as you can guess, it changes all the time depending on what mood I'm in and stuff like that. I actually would go. I'd actually say "The Scenic Route." When we did the record in the studio, we all thought "When I'm With You" was the best song. We thought, okay, that's the MVP, if you like. It had some kind of magic about it. But I think "The Scenic Route" for me was a kind of a bold move, in a way, to kind of end the record with like a 6-minute plus track, and it takes a while. It's kind of a slow burner, you know. Kind of one of those songs that I'd like to think maybe rewards the listener. I don't know. One of my mates did say to me, he listened to the EP for the first time, and the first thing he said to me was, "A 2-minute intro for one song, really?" So I said, point taken, yeah. But it's a song I'm really proud of, because it kind of slowly reveals itself and it builds to a nice climax. And I love playing that song live. Playing with the band now, obviously we approached them slightly differently, because in the studio I never really thought about gigging or how we're going to kind of, you know, when I was in the studio before, I think, right, well, we play a solo live here, so let's put a solo here. But I'd never played these songs live before.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of fun getting in the studio with the band and thinking, okay, so the Scenic Route sounds like this, but what can we do with it? You know, how can we kind of enhance it a little bit? And it's become a really even longer now. I mean, we did it for Raw Sound TV a few weeks back, and I knew it was slightly longer, but then when I looked, it was 11 minutes long. which again I suppose is either brave or stupid, but again it's just so much fun coaxing it out and kind of slowly building it up and then have it all come crashing down and having an extended solo. And I think because it's such a minimal song and it's built around 4 chords, there's so much that you can do around those 4 chords. They're like the bedrock, and then you can do so much on the piano and the guitar. And so yeah, it's a real fun song to play, and I really enjoy playing it. I think when we rehearse it, the guys get cramp after a while, but it's good fun to play, and it's become a little bit of a de facto closer, an epic closer for us.
Yeah, well, I can understand why, and it obviously it fits really nicely actually with the if you look at sort of like, I guess if you want to call them like more established bands, they all seem to have that sort of, I guess, like that, not signature, it's like sort of like an epic outro, like last track that gets the, a bit of a use your word, like a bit of a slow burner, and then it gets the big build up, and then it just sort of at the end just like, just not quietens down, but that type of thing. And I think that it works.
Thank you. Yeah. It was something I grew up on as well. I mean, you mentioned epic closers from big bands, and obviously Stone Roses, you got Eye on the Resurrection, and the Lars. I remember Looking Glass. That was a song I think I always was kind of in awe of these epic kind of closers, and I always wanted to do one day. So.
Well, you've definitely achieved it, and if it's good enough for them, then why not give it a go? And you've definitely pulled it out the bag there. So next question here is, obviously, I hope that everyone can see this. This is the artwork for the EP. Of number 27, and
look, that's a bit unlucky in rock and roll, isn't it? 27.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, luckily I'm well past that age, so although it's my birthday, but anyway, no one really needs to know that. So these are obviously all individually drawn, weren't they? What was the inspiration behind the artwork?
Yeah, I wanted to do some physical releases, just to complement the Spotify, really. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to get my music out there to people that still like to have physical copies of things. I mean, I knew obviously there was a currency in vinyl. I don't necessarily mean financially. I mean, there's
big
substantial in vinyl. So that was my initial intention. I wanted to produce some vinyl, and I wanted to do something just a bit different with it. I wanted to just do something where there was a quid pro quo situation, where I got my music out there, but I also gave back to a cause I was passionate about. And I think it all started, like I said, the original plan was that I wanted to have T-shirts, and then that kind of didn't happen. Then I wanted to get covers that were kind of designed online, but that didn't happen. And then I thought, well, I could go down the avenue of getting them drawn, and then have 5 or 6 different animals and get one on each one. And I've always been passionate about kind of WWF, and I've tried to give money where I can, and I've sponsored a tiger, and so money goes out every month to that. I thought it'd be a great way to kind of raise money in a fun, kind of engaging way. And it's a way to get my music out there, and it's a way for people to have something kind of unique, and something different and handcrafted. And I think it kind of surprised me that CDs were still, a viable outlet. I mean, I know a few people that have bought them, bless them, don't actually own CD players. And I mean, I don't myself. But obviously the one thing that kind of, the Bits and Pieces compilation showed me was that there was still a market out there for CDs. So vinyl was a bit too expensive on my own. So CDs, it's cost effective, and we've been really lucky. I mean, I didn't expect the demand really. I mean, I think we had 27, 30 odd orders from the get go, and we'd only drawn 5. I remember I got 5 drawn for the promo pictures, and I said, because So I'm always a bit pragmatic, I suppose. I said, well, let's not draw any more yet, because I don't know how many I'll sell. I might not sell any, you know. So then when we sold a lot more than that, we were like, oh my God, we've got to haul ass now and get these drawn and get them out. And but we've kind of learnt our lesson now. It was a struggle at first to just keep up with that initial demand, and it took a few weeks for people to get them, which I felt bad about. But we know now we've got a few kind of done ready. So
yeah.
But it's been great. It's been amazing. We've raised over 350 quid for WWF. So
that's great.
It just feels awesome to have been able to have made a contribution and to get my music out there as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, someone who loves, I still insist on buying CDs or vinyl, and so I do get quite excited when someone says, "Oh, we've got a physical copy." Don't get me wrong, Spotify and all the rest of it's great, but I do like the physical copy, and I think that there's obviously, as you just said yourself, there is still quite a big market out there for them sort of things.
Yeah, and I think another thing as well with the record, I should say, is that obviously a fair few people began to know Love and Exile, but there was a lot of older material that I had from the various bands I was in that, you know, I'm still quite proud of, and I still think some of them hold up, you know. And I thought, well, this is a chance for those songs to get discovered as well. And I wanted to give people a bit more bang for the buck. So I thought, well, rather than do Love and Exile on CD, I'll do a kind of exclusive compilation where you get Love and Exile and 7 older songs. And for me, that was just a great way of some of these older songs that perhaps hadn't had much love back in the day, a chance for them just to get a bit of renewed appreciation. But even if they didn't get that, just to get heard, really.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was quite a brave idea because of doing it, but I think it's worked really well. And while you're talking, I was trying to think. There was on your Spotify playlist, you've got I'm trying to think what it was called. It's like a bit of a compilation album, something to do with not 4 chords.
Oh dear, 10 years on 4 chords.
That's yeah. So I think it's great, but obviously, some people obviously haven't got access to the streaming stuff. So I think to include and do it the way that you've done, I think is fantastic, really. So obviously, live gigs are back, and for you personally, you're getting quite a few gigs back out on the road. Obviously, you was in London a few weeks back at the Water Rats.
Yes.
That was with the Blue Tones frontman, wasn't it, Mark Morris?
No, one of the Water Rats was with The Kind.
Oh, with The Kind. Sorry, a big apology.
I did play. I've played with Mark twice recently. I played with him in Birmingham at the Grey Lantern, and then I played with him at a festival last week in Bewdley in the Wyre Forest.
Yeah. So because that was your first festival slot in about 5-6 years, wasn't it? I believe was that right?
Yeah. Again, like when I kind of got started going again with the music last year, I thought it would be amazing to play a festival, because I didn't play many back in the day, to be honest. When I was gigging regularly, I didn't have much luck getting on festival slots. So it felt amazing because we got on at 5 o'clock. The sun was beating down. Really cool atmosphere. Kind of a night, a lot of people there. It was awesome. I thought, well, I never thought I'd be doing this again. So that was a great moment. There was a lot of wasps, but it was a great.
So the Live Wire Festival, that was with a full band, wasn't it? Was the one at the Water Rats, was that with a full band, or was that just an acoustic?
That was solo acoustic, yeah. So the first 2 gigs I did, one was with Jack Cattell. I'm not sure if you know him, but
yeah, I do. Yeah, great
fantastic guy, really, really talented. And someone pulled out, so he asked me, bless him, if I fancied it, and I thought, well, this would be great to dip my toe back in. So I did a solo acoustic gig there. That was fun. There was a few famous faces in the crowd. Laura Horton was there, and so it was good to meet her. But The Kind were looking for an acoustic opener for their Water Rats gig. And again, just talking about the kindness of Twitter and the other platforms, a few people kind of put my name forward. I didn't even have to pay them any money. I don't know if they're expecting money now, but I messaged the Kind and just said, yeah, you know, I'll be up for it. Here's my stuff. Let me know if you want me. And yeah, they asked me to play. And again, when I started out again last October, I thought it'd be great to do a few gigs, but I never harboured any ambitions to gig outside of the Midlands again, because I thought it probably won't happen. So to be able to go on to London and do a gig again after so long was amazing. And to play the Water Rats, which is such an iconic venue, and to meet the Kind as well, who were really, really talented guys and really down to earth. And yeah, we had a good laugh.
Good, great stuff. Well, it's great to hear that you personally are enjoying being back out at live gigs again. And I've been fortunate myself the last couple of weekends to go and watch some gigs. And yeah, the being back it's great. So let's hope that we're over this this pandemic stuff and that's it, and we can all carry on as normal. So obviously several of your tracks have been played on both local and national radio stations, as well as being played overseas in France, Australia, and the United States. So do you still get the same buzz on hearing your records being played on the radio, like since the first time? And do you feel is radio as an important avenue for getting your music out there when compared with the likes of, you know, social media, you know, Twitter and Spotify, etc.?
Oh yeah, I still get a buzz, 100%. It will never get old, and I will never stop appreciating it, you know, because there are so many musicians out there, as you know, and we all just want to get our music played and try and get it out there to new audiences. So the fact that my music gets chosen to be played on the radio is incredible. It's an incredible feeling, and I always try my best to. I try my best to listen to shows anyway, you know, because I'm a fan of shows, you know, like, you know, the New Year's Music and A.D. Hansen show and the Away Day radio guys and stuff like that. But I always try to make, if I'm not gigging, I'll always make sure I listen, and I still really do get a buzz. I get the nerves every time I think they're about to announce my song, and then when they do, you know, I'm kind of sitting there like how I am now, kind of like listening, thinking what they're going to say. And just that feeling of when the song's playing, thinking there's people in different parts of the UK and maybe further afield that are having this on now, and hopefully not switching over. So no, it's still a real thrill. I don't know whether it's an age thing or what, but I still think it's a rite of passage to get played on the radio. I always think of when they interviewed Sting before, and they asked him what one of his greatest moments was, and he said when he first got played on the radio, and Roxanne got played on the radio, and he said, I was painting my living room, he said, and I almost fell off the ladder. He says when my song came on, and I think, you know, that was in the 70s, and that's kind of how I feel now. So when my music gets played, I still get that shock and buzz and great feeling. So. And I still, and in answer to your question, yeah, I still think it is a really valuable platform. Yes, it's not as powerful as it was before, and obviously getting played on more mainstream radio stations is difficult. But that obviously I don't know whether it was difficult back in the day either, so it's hard to compare. But no, I still think it is a very, very vital resource for us bands, because there's multiple benefits from it. I think you know, obviously you're getting played on an established platform that's got reach and a good audience, so straight away you know you're up, because you know it's all well and good you kind of promoting it yourself, but when you've got the backing of kind of an established show or an established station already, you know, you start to think, oh well, maybe there'll be a new audience that will pick this up. But also it's a chance to hear great music from other bands and form connections from them. I mean, one show that I always like listening to is the In Your Ears Top of the Radar chart, and I get the same excitement listening to that as if it was the de facto top 40, you know. And that's always great to listen to, just and to listen to the playlist as well before, but to listen to that top 20 and you just hear the sheer diversity and the breadth of the music that's going and it always astounds me when I hear these new songs, just how talented and kind of creative, you know, other unsigned kind of artists are. And then obviously you start to open dialogues with them. And so, yeah, I still think it is a really valuable platform. And although obviously social media and Spotify are really powerful, I think there is still a place for radio, if only for that kind of rite of passage of getting played on the radio. You know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, totally get that. I think it's quite interesting actually to hear that you think that, because I sort of always had the impression that maybe radio was fading out. Maybe it's where I've just listened too much to mainstream radio, and it's always the same songs. It doesn't matter whether or not the song's any good or not. It's always the same. So yeah, it's quite interesting to hit. You know, it's just the same cycle. Or, you know, oh, this band have got a new album out, and it's quite funny.
Well, Jake Davey, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, no, Jake. Yeah.
Another great singer-songwriter. He made me laugh the other day when he was talking about Radio X, claiming to be champions of new music, and then playing "Waiting on a Wall" for the 50th time. And I couldn't stop laughing, because whenever I'm in the car, Foo Fighters' new stuff comes on all the time. But yeah, it is difficult. I think those kind of stations is difficult. But obviously, you got John Kennedy, who's great, and he plays a lot of new music on Radio X. And I mean, I listen to Absolute Radio in the car, and honestly, like you said about some people might not want to get on the radio now, or might not think it's as important. But I know I'd lose my right. Like, I go crazy if I heard my song on an Absolute or something.
Yeah, I can imagine, definitely. So for those that don't know, you're obviously a Wolverhampton Wanderers fan. Obviously, there's been a bit of unrest at the football club over the summer. Obviously, with Nuno leaving, you've got a new manager now who's just come in, and you haven't had the greatest of starts to the new season. So what do you think would represent a good season for Wolves? And I'm guessing as well, you must be pretty pleased to be having I think they pronounce his name, Raul Jimenez back. Yeah, after his he fractured his skull last year, didn't he?
Yeah. I must admit, you know, results, I know it's a results business, but results have been deceiving, because the football that I've seen so far, and, you know, I hate being one of them fans that says this, like, oh, I ain't watched the game, but, oh, you know, I haven't been to the games, but obviously I've seen the highlights, and my brother's a season ticket holder, and the football that I've seen, and obviously I haven't seen the full 90 minutes this season yet, but it's so much more positive and kind of pressing than it was under Nuno last season. As great as Nuno was, and I'm sure Jack Cattell would agree if you had him on, because we talk about this all the time about Wolves and stuff. As great as Nuno was, and he's obviously a club legend, and he did incredible things with Wolves. Last season, with or without Jimenez, you know, the football was boring, it was defensive, it was negative. It was not a pleasure to watch at all. So when the news came out that Nuno was leaving, yes, I was incredibly sad and fearful about what could happen. But I also thought, you know, he's had a really good innings with us. He's had maybe the cycle is coming to an end, and maybe it's time for someone new to come in. And I thought, if it means we watch football that's slightly more exciting than last season, then it's a good thing. And yeah, so far, it's so much more, like I say, it's so much more attacking, and there's a lot more of a threat. And I mean, we're utilising Adama Traore much better. You know, we're getting the ball into the channels for him to kind of run onto. And I mean, I watched the highlights against Spurs, and every time Traore had the ball, they couldn't get it off him. You know, he was slaloming around players, he was brushing them off, he was outpacing them. And as so many people have said, if he could finish, he wouldn't be at Wolves, let's be honest. But yeah, I think it's a positive start, and 2 narrow losses against 2 teams that will be in the top 6 this season, I think. I don't think that's bad, and I think we've got another tough game against Man U, but you never know, we might get something there. The tide might turn. For me, a good season, I predicted us to finish 13th, but 13th with a but. 13th, but we've played good football, and you know, it hasn't been a drag. Whereas last season we finished 13th, 14th, and it was poor to watch. So yeah, it's one of them. I don't anticipate we'll be knocking on the Europa places again, but I think the football we've seen so far, if we can start turning it into results, then it will be an entertaining season.
Okay, well, good luck to it, and I've got a sort of a vested interest in Wolves anyway. I've got a good friend of mine who is a Wolves season ticket holder, so I sort of pay a little bit more attention maybe than what to other teams in the league than what I would do. So, going back to the music now. So, if you could open a gig for any band, who would you choose?
Oh, that's a tough question. I would probably say the road. Maybe this is in bad taste with what's happened to Charlie Watts, sadly, but my answer would have been the same either way. I probably would say the Rolling Stones. I think, obviously, such an established band and a great live band, a band that it would be an honor to support, but a band you could learn so much from being around them and from watching them, and great energy. A band I've always looked up to and admired, and they're a big influence in my work, and even in Love and Exile, the Stones influenced me a lot. The more kind of mellow moments. So yeah, I'd probably go with the Stones.
Great choice, and obviously, as you say, rest in peace, Charlie Watts.
Yeah, it's been a sad week because obviously we lost Don Everly.
Yeah,
we've lost Charlie Watts as well. And obviously we lost Brian Travers from UB40 as well.
Yeah, it's been
it's
strange old week, hasn't it? Really, on that from that side of things. So, if you had a musical time machine, which musical event would you travel back in time to go and see?
Woodstock, definitely. I think just to witness that kind of era-defining moment, to see those different bands. I'm a big fan of kind of 60s and 70s music and clothes from that era.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
So, yeah, I've always been a fan of that particular era of music because I feel that's kind of when, obviously Woodstock was late 60s, but I feel the 60s was when kind of rock and roll as we know it now kind of began to kind of form. Before that, you had, Little Richard, B.B. King, Chuck Berry, all icons.
Yeah.
But for me, the Beatles, the Stones, Buffalo Springfield, those kind of acts, they kind of brought the Byrds as well, Dylan, obviously. They were bringing rock and roll as we know it now. And I think to see that then would have been amazing. And just to see that kind of, just to witness that, that kind of camaraderie, that landmark event, I think that would be amazing. Yeah. I think another one I would say is opposite ends of the spectrum, but I would have loved to have seen either REM live, because I never got to see them, and I'm a huge REM fan. And I would have loved to have seen the Cream reunion in 2005 when the Free Root with some Cream got back together at the Albert Hall. I think that would have been amazing. So those are moments I would have gone back to as well. So they're relatively recent, but
you're in control of the time machine. You can go back whenever you want. So I think I've got a rough idea what you might be saying, or certainly the bands based on the answers that you've just given. So what are your 3 favourite albums?
Again, this changes so regularly, but I would have to say the Revolver by the Beatles has always been kind of my favourite album.
Yeah, great album.
I love pretty much every Beatles record. I think for me, a sign of a great musician or artist or band is one that kind of evolves, changes the same, develops. So Radiohead, Arctic Monkeys, Beck, I always look up to these kind of people. Paul Simon is a big one as well. But Revolver, for me, it's got so many great moments on it, and it's a record I always come to again and again. Second would be Blood on the Tracks by Bob Dylan. Such an kind of a raw, emotional record, really melodic, really powerful, kind of consistent, strong songwriting, and just an amazing man. I think you look at his career, how many kind of peaks and troughs and comebacks he's had, and even then he was considered Old News in the 70s, and Blood on the Tracks kind of established him as a force to be reckoned with. And it's a phenomenal record, and a very kind of, allegedly a very personal record to him. And you can hear that kind of pain in it. And yes, that's one I love. Third favorite album, tough, because this one kind of changes all the time, but I will probably, actually, believe it or not, go for the one behind you there, Exile on Main Street. Again, such a fantastic, I'm just double checking, it is Exile on Main Street.
Is, it is, you're only the second person to notice that I've got an album there, so
yeah, an amazing double album. Double albums are rare to get right. I feel that quality control can go out the window sometimes, but Exile on Main Street is the essence of the Stones for me. If anyone said to me what Stones album should I listen to first, I would always say Exile on Main Street. I think such a rich kind of production, flirts with country, flirts with rock. It's a real fun album, but honestly, it changes so often. There's so many records that I love and go to for inspiration.
Yeah, it's difficult just to pick three, and I think just on the obviously on Exile on Main Street, obviously the story behind, where the Stones were actually as a band at that time as well, I think just adds to the intrigue to the record, and gives different meaning maybe to the song. So what's next on the agenda then for you? Are we going to be expecting any more new music from you before the year's over, or any more gigs? What's the plans?
I'm trying to just kind of make hay while the sun shines, really. I keep expecting to be found out at some point, and all the offers will dry up. So I'm just making the most of it before I have to spend more and more time in the spare room at the house. So like I say, I've been really, really fortunate with some great gig offers that have come my way. So in September, we've got a fairly busy schedule. We're playing a festival in Oxford on the Saturday, Front Row Festival, it's a really great bill. I'm really looking forward to playing that. The next day, I'm in London for the Islington Radio Festival. Which again, it was one I kind of entered and didn't expect to hear anything. And then when I found out I was in, I was stunned. I'm playing on the Sunday with some really talented people again. Alexon is playing that night, and someone I've always looked up to, being a fellow kind of West Midlands artist, someone us kind of Midland acts look up to and learn a lot from. And then I'm playing with Alex again on the 16th of September, a few days afterwards, at a really, really beautiful renovated church in Lichfield. And I'm playing with him and Perry Manning, which I'm really excited about, because I've not met Perry yet, and I'm really excited to again put a face to a name, and know he's going to be fantastic. And that's in Lichfield at a really nice venue. It's kind of going to be an unplugged set, and that's a full band set, and so we're going to kind of do an MTV unplugged style.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that. And we're playing in Worcester on the 30th of September, and then we're playing in Manchester for Listen Up Music with Vela Incident, Lost Line, and Bridges on November 6th. So just rattling off those gigs. It shocks me just such amazing opportunities have come my way, and I'm really, really thankful for them, and I can't wait to do them. Going to be really exciting. And in terms of new music, there won't be any more this year. I think I'm a bit old-fashioned in that respect, where the EP came out, and now it's time to kind of gig and promote and kind of try and get it out there to new audiences. And in the past, I've been very guilty of releasing a record and then kind of detaching myself from it, and then instantly working on new stuff. And then when it comes to gigs, I'm kind of bored with the stuff that's out, and I want to do the new stuff. So for me at the moment, I'm still very much in kind of love and exile mode, and I want to make sure I do it justice, really. I want to make sure that I promote it heavily, and I want to make sure I do everything I can to get it into people's ears, if you know what I mean. I want to make sure that next year I can look back and think, well, I did everything I could with gigs and promotion online to get Love and Exile out there, and yeah, so that's the plan. But there will be new music definitely, and it really pleases me to say that, because I wasn't sure where this journey would take me. I didn't have any long-term ambitions really. I wasn't sure what would ever happen once the EP came out. The EP coming out was always the end goal. That was whatever happened after that, it would be a great bonus.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I'm still here now, a few months on, getting to talk about it, and yeah, I'm really privileged to do that. And like I say, I've really enjoyed the solo acoustic gigs, but I've really enjoyed playing with a band again. And they're really talented guys, and they kind of make me look good. I'm probably the worst member in the band, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's really nice to sit here and feel that there's plans afoot, for both gigs, and yeah, we are recording new stuff soon, but it won't be out till next year, I think. I think people need a break. I want to give people a bit of a breather.
Well, the gigs that you've mentioned there, obviously you're getting to play alongside, as you said, some great guys. Obviously Perry and Alex there. I'm really big fan of the stuff that I've heard of theirs in the last sort of 12 months or so. So you're in great company there, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, is richly deserved as well. The album's fantastic. Sorry, the EP is fantastic, and I'm sure that there's plenty more people like me out there that appreciate your record and everything. So I'm sure that you'll continue to grow at these gigs, and I can't wait to hear some more new music from you as well in the future.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, like I say, the one thing I always wanted, I think, when people ask me kind of what was my goal with music, was always kind of like, I always wanted to be able to announce a gig and people to buy tickets. And that sounds simple, but it's not. In the past, I've announced gigs, and then it's like I've had to kind of pester my mates and then pester my family to come. And I always thought one day it'd be lovely to announce a gig and see people comment and go, oh, I'll come to that, or oh, I've just bought my ticket. And at the moment, I've been really lucky where that's happened a few times now, and I'm still shocked. Like I read it back and I go, you bought tickets to see me? It doesn't feel real, and that's all I ever really wanted. So, and it doesn't matter whether it's 2 people or 200, just that there's people that actually want to come and see me, and I haven't had to pester them. It's feels amazing. So, like I say, I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts, and make the most of it.
Yeah, well, as I say, it's richly deserved. So I don't think you've got to worry about people coming to see you. So I think it's sincere, and they genuinely mean it. So unfortunately, that is the end of the podcast. I thank you very much for coming on and chatting to me. It's been an absolute pleasure to finally, as I said at the beginning, to sort of talk to you face to face, or we're on Zoom. I personally can't wait to see what's in store next for you, and I look forward to the new music that might be coming up next year. And I wish you all the luck in the world with the upcoming live dates as well that you mentioned. If you haven't already given Sam a follow, then he's on social media, including Twitter and Instagram as well. And you can hear all of his music on Spotify, including his EP, Love and Exile. Thanks everyone for tuning into today's episode. I'll be forever grateful if you could like, retweet, subscribe and comment on the podcast. Sam, I wish you all the best of luck in the world, and hopefully one day I'll have a beer with you at one of your gigs.